Okay, hi everybody. This is David Sereda, and today I'm talking about in fact, I've been building handmade electronics, pulsed electromagnetic field devices, frequency tuning systems for about 20 years. And with the advent of Royal Rife and his discoveries that frequencies, I have to say allegedly because there's no legal proof and there's no definition of proof that frequencies heal, other than the recent MIT published peer-reviewed study that proved that frequencies in 3 different ranges were very advantageous to people with cognitive illnesses, and that's a peer-reviewed study, so it does prove that frequencies heal. But I can only say legally that the study says that frequencies heal, which is a Massachusetts Institute of Technology study, and that I spent almost 20 years working with an MIT PhD physicist, Bogdan Maglich, on fusion and detection and bomb detection and contraband detection and chemical detection. And I was appointed the director of Tesla Foundation by Maglich, who was a Yugoslav American physicist educated with a PhD at MIT, who appointed me director of Tesla Foundation. So I know a lot about technology. I know a lot about coils and claims that people are making out there. And so the point of this video is to kind of caution people to a lot of scams. They are true scams going out there on PEMF devices, pulsed electromagnetic field devices, because legally anybody can do their own scientific study, even though it's not peer reviewed. And legally anybody can say the word frequency if there is a frequency involved. A frequency is just the number of waves per second generates a numerical value frequency that per second that number of waves may or may not have benefits to the human system or animal system, mammal system, and even ecological systems such as plants. And so when you see these devices, what I'm saying is a lot of even their studies are false. One, the only way you know if a device is real is by how it's made. And in fact, there's this wand that everybody went crazy over and was buying, and it's made of plastic. We took one with a hammer and took it apart, and I just laughed because I've taken hair dryers apart, and it's exactly the same. All it is a hair dryer with a blower fan and a glass tube inside, and that's it. And people are paying, for the expensive ones over 2,000 US dollars on these things, and for the cheaper ones $500. And the claims that they're making in their own studies cannot possibly be real, because the benefits of blow drying your hair with a hair dryer would be the same, because it's what it's made of and how it works. There is no authentic frequency value there, other than the frequency that all of our lights flicker at. All of our electricity in North America cycles at 60 waves a second, so you have a frequency of 60. And in Europe, it's 50 waves a second, so it's a little bit slower. So when you're looking at buying a pulsed electromagnetic field device, look at what it's made out of. Don't look at the claims, because most of those are just hoopla and advertising scams to get you to buy. Oh, look, they did a scientific study. Oh, this scientist or this doctor said this and that. We even found with many devices out there, and there's a number of them. I'm not going to name the companies today so as not to just go flat out on the attack. But even though legally I can critique anything I want without it being slander, I can say that the public has been really duped into buying low-grade devices that the cheaper, I mean, first thing is look at materials. If you see plastic or a rubber mat, be aware that you're probably looking at junk. And be aware of moderate to low prices, and also be aware of simplicity, because any authentic frequency device is going to have a frequency source, which could be an AIF or MP4 file, or even an MP3 file, which is low quality. And then you have an amplifier, and that amplifier may be very, very low quality, or it may be very good quality. And then you have your emitter, and your emitter can be coils that are in a bed, a rubber mat. They can be in the form of, your emitter can be a coil inside of a wand, or it can be even inside of a transmitter, like an antenna. There's a lot of ways to make emitters. In fact, some emitters are glass tubes or Pyrex tubes, which is kind of like dishware glass, which is made out of aluminum and silica. And so you have different types of emitters. And so you can have a radio frequency emitter, a magnetic field emitter, you can have a plasma emitter. And so you have to look, when you look at it, what is it made out of? How does it work? Don't look at the medical studies, because if you make a medical claim almost anywhere in the world today, it's actually illegal, unless a medical study was done like the one that was done at Massachusetts Institute of Technology on cognitive illness. So if anybody's making a medical claim, they're probably just trying to get you to buy the device, whatever it is. And so you have these three components, and you have to look at what they're made out of. So your emitter can be a coil made out of copper wire. It can be buried inside of a plastic housing, which I would be very aware of. You can have a TV set or computer screen as an emitter, even though today's computer screens, because of new technology, do not emit anything at all. They're not emitters anymore. So they're kind of useless as emitters. You can have an antenna, and you can actually have a photonic light source, meaning LED lights or light bulbs, actually function as an emitter, right? And then you have the quality of your amplifier, find out where it's made. And then you have, what are the frequencies? When people just say frequency, they use that word frequency. Oh, higher frequency. Find out what the frequencies are. Learn about frequency, and any good frequency device is going to have literature on what the frequencies are and what people can tend to feel from them. So with my technology, I have very high quality coils. The geometry of a coil matters, yes, because if I just run wire in circles, little loops, and put it in a rubber mat, yes, that's an emitter, but it doesn't have much geometry other than it's a cylinder. So when you have geometrically designed coils, you have a geometrically organized energy field radiating off of that coiled emitter. So geometry matters. The size of the emitter matters, absolutely, because if you have a tiny little device, like there's devices this big that say they transmit frequencies. In fact, when we run meters on those small devices, we can't even get a reading. There's nothing coming off of them. In fact, there's nothing coming off of the computer screen TV sets that we've tested as emitters. Zeros, all zeros, nothing happening.
How come some of them claim that there's a reading, or that they have a
Well, they don't even do that. What they do is, one, they claim that there's, okay, they'll use a word like scalar, which is very common, by the way, or tachyons, and people just believe it. Oh, it's scalar. So no, scalar was designed by Nikola Tesla. I've read his patents on scalar. He doesn't use the word scalar. It was technically called a Tesla wave, and then a longitudinal wave, and it got renamed a scalar wave. And so again, you have to know how those waves are generated to know if the equipment people are selling, calling scalar, actually has the components of the equipment that will generate a scalar. And what I found in my studies were and testing is that there's no such scalar technology in the device at all. So first, be aware of medical claims. You can only legally sell these devices as therapeutic pleasure, just like listening to music or listening to frequencies on your stereo or your headphones. It's technically therapeutic pleasure. And there are private studies done that suggest that we have evidence that it can do way more than that, but you can't legally post those things because they're not peer-reviewed by university scientists or doctors, and they can't verify that every single time you'll get the same results. So my systems are all handmade. We have wands that incorporate gems like rubies and sapphires and almost any gem somebody wants. And that's because when you pulse a gem due to what's called piezoelectricity, the gem will emit an energy field proprietary to that gem. There's nobody else out there that I know of, other than very small devices, where anybody incorporates rubies and sapphires in their pulse emitters. And so that makes my PEMF devices superior to almost everything out there. Then there's the geometry and the size of the coil. So if you see tiny little coils, the amount of field energy they'll produce is proportional to their size. If the wire is really, really skinny wire, the field will be even smaller. So if you're buying a device this big, you're going to have an energy field that won't even affect a bug, maybe a few blades of grass. Definitely not a whole human system. So the bigger coils allow more energy through and therefore create a much bigger field. And when I say bigger, I mean a lot of wire goes into a geometry. So when you look at devices, find out what they're made of. Then we have another classification of device that claims to restructure or balance the electromagnetic field pollution. So first of all of nature has EMF. The Earth has an electromagnetic field. Mars has an electromagnetic field. Venus, the sun, each star in the cosmos, the cosmic microwave background radiation in the universe, which permeates the entire creation, is high frequency EMF. So this whole myth that you want to block all EMF is absurd, because you live on photonic harmonic EMF bands, because all photons, all light is electromagnetic field, all light, which means from radio waves to microwaves to infrared light to red light, all the way to purple and violet light to ultraviolet to X-rays and gamma rays, is all EMF. So this myth that EMF is bad, first of all, is wrong. What's bad is disharmonized, chaotic, man-made, human-made microwave activity from cell phone towers, radio towers, etc. Not because it's EMF, but because it's not harmonized first before it's sent out. And there are lots of studies in the National Library of Medicine and the National Institute of Health on the human health effects of both radio wave frequencies and ionizing electromagnetic fields, ionizing radiation, which tends to be a term used for more in the realm of very, very high frequency X-ray, gamma rays, alpha and beta energies that are usually associated with nuclear type devices. And many hospitals who use X-ray machines, CAT scan machines, MRI, are in the realm of ionizing radiation that can be, not always, can be harmful to the body, depending on how long your exposure to them is. So when people are trying to block EMF, it's so funny to me. They'll hold up one of these meters and they'll turn it on magnetic, and they're moving the meter around. And when you move the meter around over a piece of metal, even, you'll get a false tiny bit of a reading. Okay. So when you want to read background, set the meter down and look at the reading. And for me right now, it's all zeros, because magnetic is low frequency. But when I turn it to RF in the red, I will see Wi-Fi. You see those bursts? Those are my Wi-Fi. And those are radio frequencies. So those are high frequencies coming from the Wi-Fi. Now, again, if those were harmonized, they were harmonic bands that exist naturally in certain rhythms of the universe, they would probably be beneficial. But the way the internet is designed and telecommunication is designed, they don't harmonize them. So again, when you're looking at buying a post-electromagnetic field device or a system that somebody claims blocks radiation, because you can see all kinds of things that people say block radiation. You hold your meter up in RF mode, it's not blocking anything at all. In fact, some of them are selling for over $1,000 a unit, and they just sit there on the table and they're claiming it's blocking or depolarizing or demagnetizing. I mean, to even say that is false, because the Earth is a polarized magnetic field. It has a north and a south pole. In fact, every magnet is polarized. The cells in your body are polarized. All of the dipoles in all of the molecules and all the atoms are polarized. So you have to really be careful what you're looking at. My philosophy is not about blocking. I know how to block, but I don't really want to block, because if I block, and the most effective way to block, there's two ways, is one, using harmonized antenna systems to collect the ambient microwave radiation and create a harmony out of the chaos. And two is to surround your building in metal that you send to electrical ground, and that will block everything. And if you use tourmaline crystal paint, even better, but it has to be grounded. If your blocking shield is not grounded, it won't do anything. It has to be grounded. So in the area of protection, my philosophy, both with protection and exposure to chaotic electromagnetic fields, is tuning, which means we go through a series of harmonic frequencies to keep your house and your workspace and your sleep space tuned to harmonic, beautiful harmonies, rather than saying, I'm going to block everything. If you block everything, then you're blocking the good. You're going to block the energy of the stars at night. You're going to block the energy of the planets. You're actually going to block everything. And in studies that were done in caves on humans, where they were sequestered from all frequencies, is they got massively mentally ill and depressed. That's what happens to human beings if you completely block them, is because we're photonic beings. We're electromagnetic beings. Plants are electromagnetic beings. They live on harmonic EMF bands from the sun, the planets, the cosmos. They're living on that. So when you cut them off, they die, right? So if I take plants and put them in a cave underground and give them no EMF, that means no light, because light is the electromagnetic energy, they will die. So it makes no sense to block, except in extreme cases. If you're getting readings on your meter, again, you measure magnetic is low frequency and radio frequency is high frequency. And these readings I'm getting here are really low. They're not even, they're 0.07 watts per meter squared. I mean, that won't even hurt a fly. But if you start to get up into serious numbers and you want to block, you have to find out where it's coming from, create a metal shield, put some tourmaline paint on there, send it to ground, right? Send the sheet to ground, which means you drill a hole in it, attach a screw and a bolt, send the wire to your ground on your electrical outlet, and you'll have a shield that will block you. And it's quite a bit of work to do that. But harmonizing fields, which is what I do, is the real answer. Now, It never made sense to me. How could the speed of light be exactly 186,282 miles per second instead of point something miles? It ends at the 2,
Right.
186,282 instead of 182 point something.
So Crystal, how did you know that?
I just knew instinctually, you know, when you work from your center a lot, you just have feelings about or knowings, not even
Absolutely.
feelings.
Yeah.
It was just a knowing
Yeah.
that it was off and it wasn't precise enough. And sure enough, when he decodes things, he gets down to
Well,
the exact decimal of everything.
I looked into the early Michelson-Morley experiments, which were done in Irvine, California, in this tunnel,
Right.
when they were trying to define the speed of light as an absolute measurement.